Unscrew the cap of the bazooka on top of the van. No 25mm conduit. Bollocks. Welcome to Simplified Sparky Marketing. Very aggressive intro into the podcast this week with the anger instilled from a lack of conduit that you should have picked up in the suppliers. This is what I'm going to speak about, and it is anger management towards clients. And two things that happened to me this week that pissed me off. So there's two stories. Firstly, we're going to start with, let's just call her Mary. Mary was a lead that reached out to one of my mates that's not in the area, Nick, shout out to his electrical business for a job, even though she's located in the inner west. So Nick CC'd me into an email. I contacted Mary back again and asked for some information. So we had some of the information from Nick's email, which I got CC'd into, which is fantastic. So we request a name, address, phone number, and email in APE, NAPE. Very important that you scrape all of that data. The reason being is what I harp on about is nurturing the client after we've worked with them. And that is how we retain the clients, is by getting their information and utilizing it in email marketing software, SMS marketing software, etc., that we can keep on top and in front of them, and that we're going to remain top of mind with them. Anyway, fast forward back to Mary, rewind back to Mary even. She sent all the information needed, but she didn't send the address. For the address, she put in a townhouse next to the Bunnings on whatever road in Balmain. That's a bit random. But anyways, I was like, okay, maybe she's just being a bit weird about it. But what I said then was, it was a very easy quote to do. So I quoted it all up and I was about to send it. And I said, hey, Mary, just to let you know, we're just about to send the quote, but we need your address for the quotation. And she replied, don't worry about it. Just send it to my email. So I was like, no, fuck you, Mary. You're not getting your quotation unless you give us the address. Because obviously, if you're serious about the job, she's going to have to give us the address to do the job unless we knock on Bunnings' door and ask for this mystery townhouse. So what I started to do then was justify why we needed the address. So I started typing out this email. Reason one, obviously, we need to know where to go when the job goes ahead. Reason two was for legal reasons that we have to put your correct address in the quote, which is very true, because if you make it out to Mary next to Bunnings in Balmain in a mystery townhouse, it doesn't really have much legs if it does go to court and Mary doesn't want to pay the bills. There was a few other reasons. So I started writing these out, typing them out, and I was like getting angry about it and really aggressive in the email. And I just stopped for a second. I said, hang on, let's just backspace all of this. And so I did. I said, Mary wasn't serious about getting the job done. It was a very simple request. If she's not going to follow her process, we're not going to do the job. So I went back into my job management software service mate and I selected the job again and I marked it as unsuccessful. Then that disappeared off of my jobs that I had to attend to and it went off into the abyss because I said I'm not wasting time with somebody who's not serious about the job. And that's a lesson to be learned about qualifying leads. There's this thing called a beige flag that I've only learned about recently, and it's not quite a red flag, but it's not a white flag. It's just like a dirty white flag where it's almost a great client, but there is something amiss and your gut just says, something's not right here, listen to me, and you will be thankful for that. And this case was a beige flag where everything was she's about 75% there and just missing that last quarter. And I was like, no, I'm not wasting time with this lead. Always be mindful of who you're working with and just have a little think before you waste a lot of time with them. So that was story one. I contained myself, just marked the job as unsuccessful and left that off. Second guy, let's just call him Bob. He reached out for an electric vehicle charger for a Tesla. We can quote these very quickly because just have a process in place because it's like clockwork. Everything is the same in most houses. So what we did was he called up, spoke to a receptionist. We got his details. They sent him through the templates and confirmation. We heard nothing from him for about a day and I followed up with him and he just said, oh, it's all too confusing. And then I started getting angry with him thinking, why are you not able to follow this process? Like we've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of these installs using this process. I was like, started doubting myself thinking the process is shit. I totally need to rip it apart and change it again. But I listened to the phone call that when he called up and Bob, I think is what we're calling him, he was a very uncertain man. And it sounded more so that he was lazy and did not do his research into the difference between plugging a charger into a 10 amp power point as opposed to using a Gen 3 wall connector for Tesla that you just plug into the car and you'll get 32 amps or else 16 amps per phase and 3-phase. He was getting a bit narky, and the job was easy to quote because I was able to see his house in Google Street View. I was able to look up and down the street, single story, double brick, beautiful. Just need to know where the switchboard is. So I sent him a message, said, hey, just checking in on that. And he was like, oh, it's all too confusing. And he said, I don't know what the story with the 10 amp is, or the 32 amp. And basically he hadn't done his research, which wasn't my fault. I educated him, gave him information, which wasn't really my baby to do, but I did. And I told him all the information, and he sent me a picture. Finally got one picture through with zero information. There's a switchboard. I want it next to it. It was basically all I needed anyway in this scenario, luckily. I went through it, quoted it, sent it to him, and that was the last I heard from old Bob. And again, it was just like the Mary scenario. You get that gut feel that it's a shit client and I don't want to waste my time with him. And 99% of the time, it is the case. But again, I had an aggressive response to Bob saying, oh, it's very easy to follow. You just click the link and add photos and tick yes or no, essentially the whole way down. But I didn't. I've just backspace and I just bit my tongue and I sent him just pure basic stuff. And he was able to send through the picture, but the beige flag was up and he wasn't a great client. So I just had to swallow my pride in two of those scenarios. And I think it's wise to do so because you can get aggressive. Who knows what their scenario is, why they didn't give you that information, whether they're kicking tires, whether they're just clueless. Who knows? Don't bark at people in emails. I was that person at the very start of the business. I'd almost get a kick out of basically throwing a dig at somebody over email, but it was silly and immature. The best thing you can do is just ignore it, get rid of the job, and then they may come back with that information if they're serious about the job. Otherwise, don't be wasting your time kicking around. If you like what you're hearing, you like more of this, there is a ton of stuff over on Instagram. The handle is in the show notes below. Come across, shoot me a DM. Love to hear from you. If you have any marketing questions, I'd love to answer them. To follow, rate, review the show, all that. There's also a little gift down the bottom, 9 ways in 9 days to improve your electrical business. The link is below.